Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about PLS, PLSX, and HEX, and more specifically, their ROIs from launch. Now, if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out lightbeam.xyz, link in the description below, the newest Pulse Chain block explorer, as well as Cyphers.io, my newest web development agency to help you build your dream site in a matter of days or weeks, whatever you need, whether it's an e-commerce store, a portfolio page, a business page, dashboards, a full-on Pulse Chain block explorer, whatever you need, link in the description below. Now, today we're going to be talking about ROI from launch. And if you want to follow along with these charts, go ahead and check out lookinhex.com and follow along. All you have to do is click on the ROI tab and you will arrive to the same charts that I am referencing in this video right now. So ROI from launch is an interesting chart, right? It was one of Richard Hart's favorites of my site back last cycle because it's not very easy to calculate, but it does give a good picture of a coin's performance respective to its own launch date. So the way this chart works is each of these price charts starts at the number 1 on their day of launch. And then from there, if the price does, 100x, 1000x, or if it goes down, whatever it does, it is captured here where all of these charts are relative to the same beginning. So it's a fair race, right? It's not chronological. Again, they're all normalized to their respective start date and start price on day 1 of their launches. So when we look at what HEX did last cycle, HEX specifically, you can see it was a killer move. So let's just show Bitcoin, Ethereum, and HEX, right? HEX on Ethereum, the original HEX. You can include or exclude adoption amplifier data. Shout out to Gamesys for including that. And let's just include adoption amplifier data because people paid real Ethereum with the real USD price for real HEX, received that HEX, and that was their cost basis. So let's not exclude that, right? Because it is real data. So when we look at what happened last cycle, we had our post-launch dip, 90+% dip, pretty gnarly. And then we went up and we recovered pretty much all of that, all of those losses and then some. Had some sort of support there and then ran up. And this is one of the charts that Richard Hart referenced a lot last cycle. Shout out to him. Because it's awesome. I mean, you can just see HEX outperform each respective coin's launch in X's, right? In appreciation. And so you can see that it performed awesome. And then we've been in our bear market ever since. So if you look at ROI from launch, including adoption amplifier data, it was about 100x. Now, if you exclude it, right, you can see that it was closer to that 10,000x mark, right? And again, we still had our dip even after the coin launched on Uniswap. I believe it was like a week or two after it actually existed. The Uniswap pool started existing, or that's when we have the earliest data, at least. And so that's why you don't necessarily see the 10,000x here, because that's from the bottom, right? We don't have an ROI from bottom chart. But nonetheless, great performance from HEX in its first cycle. Now, what we're talking about in this video is obviously the Pulse Chain assets, right? Or the Pulse Chain assets like PLS, PLSX, and PHEX. So I was looking at this chart earlier and I saw some interesting things, right? And we should include AA data, like I said. There you go. So PLS, PLSX, Inc., and we can toggle those on and off, right? So where are we now? On PLSX, PLS, and PHEX. So PLS, as you can tell, is about break even from launch. And again, that's the first candle, the first opening price, which was lower than SAC rate, mind you. So we're using real market data, not necessarily pre-sale prices and all of that. PLS about 1x, PLSX about a 4x, and PHEX about a 2x, right? Pretty good. Now, if you look at what HEX did last cycle, you can see that when it actually escaped this sort of 1 to 4x region was around day 400 or so, 470. And from there, we had our run up all the way up to say day 600 and something, where EHEX was at its top, right? 50 pennies per EHEX. Now, like I said earlier, it started running up out of this range at around day 470 or so. And if you look at PLS, PLSX, and PHEX, let me get rid of ink. It looks like they wanted to run out around the same time period, but the can got kicked down the road. And for the last, 150 days or so, about half a year, we've gone back down. And we haven't mimicked what EHEX did last cycle, where it had its legendary run up to 50 cents. So what does that mean? Well, I like to think that because this cycle has been slightly offset in the time component, whereas in May of 2021, right, 4 years ago, what was Ethereum doing? Well, let's pull it up. What was Ethereum doing around May of 2021? Well, around May of 2021, Ethereum had already reached its top. It had already reached $4,400 after having its lows around $100, right? 100 here, 90 to the wick, back here about 80. So that is pretty much a 50x, right? From bottom to top. If you take 90 to 4,300, it's a little less than a 50x, right? But we're just rounding, so it's roughly 50x. So in May of 2021, if you use the analogy of the 4-year cycle, Ethereum was already at all-time highs. It was already, triple its previous all-time high. And where is Ethereum now? It's not at triple its all-time high. If it were, it would be at $15,000 or so, give or take a few thousand. So that's what I mean when I say that this cycle has been offset in time, if you believe in the 4-year cycle, because if it were an offset in time, Ethereum would be 10K plus right now, but it's clearly not. Therefore, because the can was kicked down the road from around here, maybe a lot of people, maybe some big whales expected Ethereum to take off. And if you expect Ethereum to take off, you probably expect coins like Pulse Chain, PulseX, and PX to take off, because I am of the belief, and you can disagree with this and that's okay, I could be wrong, I am of the belief that the success of the Pulse Chain ecosystem is tied, maybe not 100%, but it is tied to a large degree to the success of ETH, because the Pulse Chain sacrifice wallets hold roughly 170,000 ETH, more than Coinbase, Gnosis, Lido, ENS, and even the US government. That's a lot of ETH, guys. It's a lot of ETH. So getting back on track here, our analysis tells us that we are offset in time. The can got kicked down the road, and that's why we did not have our run-up, our legendary run-up on the Pulse Chain assets, the core coins, like EHEX did back in 2021. So what that tells me, we just have to wait, right? If PLS, PLSX, and PHEX manage to mimic that epic run that HEX had back in 2021, then we might just have to wait a bit, right? And where would that put it if it matched that 173x, right? Including AA data. 173. Well, for PLSX, that would be about 40x from here. For PLS, it would be about 170x from here. And for PHEX, it'd be about an 85x from here. So those are not numbers to scoff at. Those are insane returns, but we just haven't had them yet. Now, you can also scroll down here on that same page, and you can look at this chart, which is ROI since HEX launch. This is also a very interesting one to look at, right? And you can do from EHEX launch or from PX launch. So let's do from PX launch. We'll get rid of EHEX here. And again, these start at the actual first opening candle. So again, these were below stack rate for PLS and PLSX, and for PX, it was simply its opening candle, its opening price. So if we include PLS and PLSX here, it tells a quite interesting story. What does it tell? It says that the coin that has outperformed everything, that has performed the best from, again, that opening price about 2 years ago, is actually PLSX. Right? PLS has been the least performing. ETH has been the second, both about a 1 point something X, right? Like PLS, what is it at? 1.15X, ETH 1.4X or so. Bitcoin about a 4X, PHEX about a 2.3X, and PLSX at about a 4.5X. So you can see that PLSX is actually above Bitcoin, tied everything else, just to make that clear, relative to this chart, right? When you're looking at this chart. I think this is a very, very interesting chart. And again, you can see it out at lookinghex.com. Just click on the ROI tab, scroll down a bit. So let's just go back up to ROI from launch because I think this one is a little more interesting. And again, it just tells us that we might need to wait a bit if we do want to see that legendary run. And again, once we look at Ethereum, we can tell that, you know, if we had a run up from here and made new all-time highs on Ethereum, well then perhaps then we could have seen what we saw last cycle. But again, this cycle has been offset by time a bit. We kicked the can down the road, right? We did not break out on the Ethereum price in December. We actually went down to a higher low, mind you, than this low right here back in June of 2022. Hit about 1400 or so, maybe like high 1300s. So my point here is that I think, and again, this is all speculation, not financial advice. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I say is purely for entertainment purposes only. That we want to see Ethereum break out from this 4K level from previous all-time highs, just like Bitcoin has been doing. We want to see strength return to Ethereum, and then we can see strength return to altcoins. Again, that's just my take. And once we start doing that, if we start doing that soon, right, whenever we start doing that and start hitting these higher levels, then that, in my opinion, is when we can actually start seeing this chart break out and do a similar run up to what HEX did last cycle. Again, that's just my take. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of analysis. You can check these charts out yourself. Again, make sure to check out lightbeam.xyz and cyphers.io. Both links in the description below. Appreciate you watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.